Okay, go ahead. I'm Patrick Doyle.
And I'm Joanna Doyle. And we have a testimony.
My first experience with First Fruits came before I was even following Christ. It's something that I've responded to and recognized now, really 10 years later, what a big testimony of First Fruits it actually has been in my life. I was given the opportunity to visit a Christian mission in Nicaragua while living in Costa Rica. I was living in a tent behind a hostel and had about $5 to my name. And I met a missionary who was on a break staying at the hostel, and he was telling me all about the things that they were doing, and it sounded really intriguing to me and sounded really, true to like just what my heart felt like who God was. And I was like, oh, that's really great. If I had some money, I would totally come up and visit. And we continued about our day, and we went swimming, and we came back, and there was a call for me at the hostel, which we're in Costa Rica, who's calling me at a hostel? But it was actually a job at a yoga retreat center. I'm a massage therapist, and they had offered me to come work for a little over a week to fill in for somebody who had to travel back to the States. And so while I was doing that, I made a amount of money, about $900, and at the end of the week I was offered the opportunity to stay on full-time, which was at that point in my life my dream scenario of getting to do what I love to do in a place that I loved, and that was just naturally beautiful. And I told the boss that I was actually going to go check out a mission in Nicaragua and not stay on for the job. And so I did that, and in my time in Nicaragua is where I met the Lord and really started a relationship and gave my life to following Christ. And looking back, I see that as a first fruit of something that was given to me as an offering to God for whatever else He had for me. And I was desiring that with my whole heart. And I didn't realize that was giving God my first until really more recently that it's been opened my eyes to that. And so through that time, I was there for a month. I went back to the States, and when I came back, I heard God more clearly, like, well, I gave you all that money and you should go back. And there was things that I could really pour into there, and I was helping some students learn anatomy, physiology, and some basics to care. And so I went back to Nicaragua, and at that point I found out about a school in Spain, G42, and after that I met Ted Hansen at the time, and he told me about Abundant Life and the school that he did out here, and that's what brought me out here to Washington. But at the time, after the schooling, I went to Florida, and I was working a very successful job that I had had in the past, and I really felt like I needed to come out here and give that up, and God made a way for that to happen. After me committing my word to somebody, that person had to move on, and so then I was able to come out, and in that change of timing, I got to meet Joanna.
I'm a first fruit.
And so with that waiting a season and giving God the best of really where I was at, it created the timing for Joanna and I to meet in Portland through another couple that was going through the courses with me at the time lived down in that area. And so we went down there, and that was where I first got to meet Joanna. And instead of pursuing a nonprofit position that I had for after my time here in Washington during the schooling in North Carolina, I decided that I should probably stay because I felt like, again, God has something for me here.
And He did.
And so we also have now experienced first fruits from that story in a different way. And that came through the life of a little boy in Nicaragua. So in the time that I was given the job in Costa Rica at the Yoga Retreat Center, I read a blog about a young man that had passed away. He had drowned during Holy Week. And at that time, I didn't know I could hear God, and I heard God say from his life that more life would come. And so I felt like I was supposed to go to that community to instill hope that he was continuing to bring life even though he wasn't there. And in my time there and getting to know Christ and getting to experience his love through this community, I met 3 young men that really made an impact in my life that were kind of walking through a similar thing of just experiencing God but not knowing who he was or the significance in his life. And they were very instrumental to my story. So I asked them to be part of my baptism. And without me knowing it, I asked to go to a beach. I felt like I really wanted to be baptized in water, and the beach had been very significant in my life. And as we got there, I realized and was told that this is the same beach that they had lost their friend, and he had drowned there. And that was the first time that they had been back there in over a year. And they were the ones to enter the water and to baptize me there. And so for me, that was a huge testimony of just the life that God was bringing through that first testimony. But little known to me, it kind of expanded from there, and it's continued. And something that I'm realizing is that First Fruits brings a testimony or a harvest that is, it brings life now, but it also gives a seed for the future and for the future generations. And that's something that I'm thankful to experience and know. Also with Joanna and I, in our own story, I always felt like if I was to have a kid, I didn't really at that point, I didn't really want to have kids. And I wasn't sure if that was something that was in the cards for me. But like through that relationship with God and hearing him, like I really felt like us to have a kid. And Anthony was a big part of that for me.
2 years ago, yeah, we have a daughter.
A year ago.
Yeah, and we felt like we were going to have another kid and that it was going to be a boy, and we were just so drawn with this thought of Anthony, and we felt like we were going to have an Anthony. And at the end of 2023, we were pregnant and we had a miscarriage, and it was so hard to let go of that baby and to not feel like it was stolen. But I remember feeling this hope. Hey, you came home as it was happening and you said you had this hope. And I was like, oh man, I feel that. But it's not in like another child. Like I had cried out to God that like, I don't want any child. I want this child. And in that moment, we had this opportunity, and it was the most sacred experience I've ever had. Was as we lost who I call our Anthony, that we chose to freely give him and not view him as stolen. And I think in that choice, God, he told us that he received him as an offering. And in recent days, like we've talked about like what that means, and it means making space in our story for Anthony in all his forms, the first Anthony. and then our Anthony, and that we believe that fresh life comes from that story. And we will hold that place in our story and in other people's stories for as long as we live. And we think that that is such a testimony of First Fruits, that it's not just in a hope for an outcome, but in a testimony. And that's ours.
Yeah, that he would continue to bring that life, because that is who he is, and that was the offering, is that no matter what happens, that for Anthony, the testimony is resurrection life. That will always be the truth, because too much life has come through that, and that it's not just something that has brought us peace and has brought us blessing, but that it's something that we feel like is to be seed to sow. So for anybody who's contending to see life come where there is no life, or where there is no hope, or to be able to hold on to hope and trust God in that place, that life will come. We just pour that blessing out to them right now, and to just open up your heart again. And I know through our journey and through all these iterations of it, it's never been easy. There's always been challenges, but the key of it is just to continually to connect with God and to trust who he is and who he says he is, and to allow him to continue to speak to our hearts and minds.
Amen.
Yeah.
You could probably, I love the timing of, meeting me
Oh.
being perfect, but, you could probably lean more into the Anthony and,
As far as, my story? And
Yeah.
Then, okay.
But it's
Nice.
up to you.
Okay.
I didn't think it was bad, to be honest. I liked
Okay.
it. It was cute. Oh, yeah, we
A little
will.
solemnly.
A little something.
Oh, yes, I forgot we're doing it.
Yeah,
yes,
yes.
our
Okay, got it.
solemn.
I'm Patrick Doyle,
I'm Joanna Doyle.
and we have a testimony.
Forgot to say.
So try that again?
Yeah, let's do it again.
Try that again.
We're totally
I got
in sync.
nervous by the and, okay? Solemnly, okay.
Solemnly.
Mm-hmm.
Not excited.